So Leap is a point-of-sale application. It's digitizing every stage of the in-home sales experience, which includes helping you to create documents like surveys and assessments, importing measurements to help you generate estimates in seconds, storing your sales materials like manufacturers' brochures, before and after photos, videos, links, and sales presentations. It also accounts for financing costs and submitting applications, and of course, creating one-of-a-kind proposals and contracts to help you win the job. So with that, let's jump into our first session. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Fareeth Odar. Fareeth is the sales manager here at Leap, and he's helped a lot of top contractors in the country to set up their sales systems in such a way that they didn't skip a beat at all once the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So I'm going to turn this over to Fareeth and take it away.
Thanks, Kaylee, and thanks everybody for taking the time today to check out our content. This is a very special webinar for me. I'm a former in-home sales rep. I used to sell windows, siding, and roofing for the same exact company that Chad continues to work for. And what I really wanted to do today, just to give you guys a real content, raw content of what our customers are doing. I wanted to tie this to the last two webinars that I've done for you guys. The original webinar was about your sales process and how it will eventually have to change and what customers were doing when things started to shut down in the country. Then the second webinar was about evolving your sales process to a digital world. Whether you were using a system like Leap or you were trying to piece something together with other technologies that are already available, or you were just in a case of limbo where you wanted to do this thing, you just didn't know how. So I broke it down and I gave you guys a little bit of content based on what we have seen, what we do on a day-to-day basis with companies of all different sizes. For the third webinar, which is today's webinar, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something a little more real, meaning what is actually happening. I mean, is everything that I gave you guys in the first and second webinar actually being utilized and practiced? And if it is, how well is that working? So first I thought I'll go through a list of customers and figure out, how they're doing it and what they're doing and what's working, what's not. But what I wanted to do, what I really thought of is, why don't I just bring somebody that is actually out there in the field doing it? On a day-to-day basis, going through the ups and downs, going through the positives of what's happening, going maybe through rejection, if that's even a thing, and what's happening also in their team, not only just customer facing, but how is your team reacting to it? Is your team growing? Is it not? How are your goals? Did you have to reforecast something? I mean, what is happening out there? Technology is such a broad statement, like to implement it. But there's also the wrong way to do it, right? And there's also other areas and other things that you have to consider when implementing something and adopting something and eventually being successful with that. So I wanted to talk to someone who's thriving in this economy, in this environment, someone who didn't take a no for an answer from everything that's happening out there, and got out there and is successfully doing this with everything given, every single tool out there, getting really creative, evolving, and I really wanted to get that take on that. So it's funny, I reached out to Chad. Chad's a good friend of mine. I've known him since I was 18 years old, so many years ago. And we used to canvas together. Actually, we knocked on doors for 5 years or so. So we've seen the marketing, the old school marketing side of the home improvement industry, as well as the in-home sales process. He's actually he was my sales manager when I became a salesperson. And then eventually, obviously we have a personal friendship. I follow him on LinkedIn, and he's been super active for the past 2 quarters with really good content. I mean, we have some pictures. We're going to share that today. We're going to share experiences that he's gone through. He's very open with sharing. I know this industry sometimes tends to be a little bit secretive with their secret sauce or the way they do things. This guy is nothing like that. He's going to tell you exactly what's happening out there and how well it's worked. So I prepared 5 questions for him, and then we're just going to let him talk. In fact, if you guys see his camera, he's in the middle of going from appointment to another appointment. So he just pulled over to give us a time of day today. So we're extremely thankful that you're here, Chad. Before I get into the questions, just introduce yourself, give the audience a little bit of an idea of what you do and where you're coming from.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Farid, and I appreciate Leaf having me on here as well. My name's Chad Kistrilli. I'm the Director of Sales for New Look Home Design, and I've been in the industry for 14 years now as of about a week ago. As Farid mentioned, he and I started out in canvassing, got into sales, sales management, and again, now my position is the Director of Sales here.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. So let's get fired up. Kelly, if you can go to the next slide. All right. So this is, it's funny that we're starting with so much heat. One of the biggest things that we always talk about with Leap and customers that come to us, they're always afraid of changing what's actually working, right? I'm successful. I run a very tight ship. I have multiple reps in the field. I close at a 40% rate. Why am I changing the way I'm doing it? And the reality of it is, what I always tell my customers, like, don't evolve it, make it easier for you. Don't work too hard. Use technology to basically boost the success that you have already with your sales methods. So one thing that I noticed is that you really did that. And the pictures that I'm showing here, just so the audience knows, that's Chad's LinkedIn. That's him getting creative on how he's doing this thing and how he's approaching every single customer. Even as a director of sales, he's still in the field. So Chad, how's your sales process evolved to adapt to the low touch environment? What have you done?
Well, immediately, early on, we realized that it's going to be no touch. You're going to be physically distant from folks. And I think anybody that is, pitched a lead prior to COVID knows that sometimes you pitch on the front porch. Sometimes you pitch on the hood of your car. You're prepared to do that mentally, but not so much physically. You're like, oh man, I got to do this today. So, we realized that with a lot of these estimates are going to be done outside. And so literally the first thing I did, we were doing a lot of trade shows. Trade shows have been discontinued. I went into the office. I borrowed some tables and chairs. I gave them to all the sales teams. And I said, guys, if you're out there and you're being physically distant, don't expect the homeowner to have a picnic table set up for you. Let's make our lives just a little bit easier. Set out a table, set out 2 chairs for them, put out some hand sanitizer so they feel comfortable, they feel engaged. That was the very first thing that we did for you.
And let me ask you something, just to stay with this topic. Was that something that happened? Because I remember here in Maryland, the shutdown happened it was a Friday, 5 p.m. And that morning, the governor literally said, by 5 p.m. we're done. Like it wasn't a week notice. It wasn't a day. It was literally a weekend. And that's a Friday. For everybody here who is a salesperson, they understand that Saturdays are it's a pretty busy day for a home improvement rep. So what was that like? Like, was that Saturday like, okay, let's go get some tables? Did you guys shut down at all? Tell us a little bit about that.
We didn't shut down at all. We had a business continuity game plan in place, and that was really for natural disasters. We created the plan because our corporate office in Maryland, which is also our Maryland sales office, there was an issue with the HVAC. And so they evacuated the building and they didn't let anybody in there for 2 or 3 days. Now this was a few years ago, but all of our computers are in there. They wouldn't let anybody in. So we created a business continuity game plan. We're like, all right, what if the building catches on fire? What do you do? So who has internet access at home? Who needs to borrow a computer? Who needs to borrow a printer? So the moment that, in Maryland, Larry Hogan made that announcement, you get a company-wide email that says, hey, we're activating the business continuity game plan. Saturday, I'm heading to the office, texting the owner, asking them to meet me there to open it up so that I can get the table and chairs. Filled my SUV with them, and then I drove to each of the salesperson's houses and I dropped off table and chairs for them. So it was immediate. Luckily for me, I'm a father of 3. My oldest is 4, and I have twins that are 2 years old. So I had plenty of hand sanitizer and things like that. So you might not be able to see it, but my front seat, I have a little basket that is literally got the seatbelt clicked into it, and I got Lysol, hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, masks, shoe booties. I got an umbrella. I got a raincoat because I knew that the leads were still going to be there at some capacity. It wasn't going to go to zero. It was definitely going to slow down. And so if I'm going to be running leads, what's the easiest way for me to do that? How do I get the distractions that is, it's raining? How do I get the distractions that is, hey, I'm throwing my materials down on the ground and the grass is wet. Now the homeowner doesn't want to pick them up and interact with them. And though you can still sell in that capacity, it's just going to start to chisel away at your closing percentage. So it was immediate, Fareed, and there was not an interruption, as in we were running leads that Saturday.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And just to close out with this one here, what was the customer's reaction to that? Did you get any pushback? Was it even significant? Did they smile like that and say, "God, this is awesome," or like, tell us that?
The reaction is, it's all over the place, just like people's reactions to what's going on there out there, and their opinions of what's going on out there. But I got to say through all this, I mean, people are showing the more the good than the bad. And people really enjoyed it. They appreciated it. I mean, at one point, I had just a simple tablecloth with new look logos on it that we used at trade shows and recruiting fairs. I'd pull up, I'd pop the trunk, I'd start setting up, and I'd get it all set up before I knocked on the door. And, homeowners, when they're expecting an appointment, sometimes they're peeking out the blinds, waiting for the salesperson to show up. And they'd come out and they'd be like, "Hey, this is all for us." Like, yeah, listen, you're going to get the estimate one way or the other. I want to be safe. I want to keep you safe. And I don't want to reduce the effectiveness of that transfer of knowledge from me to you guys. Whether you purchase from us or somebody else, you need the information. So again, just trying to get the distractions out of the way so that the focus is just on, okay, what products do I have? What solutions do I have with financing versus, oh, my sales guy's standing a little close to me. He's not wearing a mask. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Because customers won't always voice that opinion. They won't.
That's very true. That's very true.
I think more people are likely to feel uncomfortable and say nothing than to, say, "Hey, time out, take 2 steps back."
Right. Awesome. Great, man. Thanks. Thanks for that insight. I mean, those are true pictures. That was Chad. I will suggest you guys follow this man on LinkedIn. If anything, just to look at his pictures. Some of us are pretty awesome. All right. So now let's talk about technology. It's no secret that for those companies that at least adopted 1 or 2 pieces of technology prior of or low touch economy or market, if you wanna call it, are better positioned than those that didn't. Doesn't mean that you're late to the party. That just means that you gotta keep up and just probably get involved. But for you guys are a company that had already put those things in place. So what's your technology or tech environment? Like what from a sales standpoint only, like what do you guys use? Did you introduce anything new because of this, or was it a pretty seamless transition?
So for in-person appointments, it was pretty similar. We have a 10-step selling sequence. We rearranged it slightly. We were already using Leap and we were already using Hover, and the two are integrated. So if I'm coming to your home to give you an estimate, I'm all ready to rock and roll. It's already low touch. The new technology that we introduced, which might actually seem funny at this point in people's lives 6 months into what's going on, is Zoom, right? We did not use Zoom beforehand. So we purchased a couple of licenses and we supplied them to the managers and our top sales reps that were a little more tech savvy. And the purpose of that was to be able to do what we call virtual estimates. So let's say somebody calls in and they say, "Hey, listen, I have a leak in my roof. I need a new roof. I would like an estimate. You may not come to my home. You may not come to my home." In fact, you find that the people that do that, there's little to no competition there because
Right.
other companies, they have to say no. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we can't do that. So we introduced Zoom. So what we would do is we would, ahead of time shoot a hover. We would have the measurements. I mean, you could go out, you could hand measure to capture the same data. We would get on Zoom and we would share the documents that traditionally live in Leap. We would share them, through Zoom, sharing your screen on Adobe PDF Reader, which is free. And that was, I would say, the biggest change in technology.
That's
being
awesome.
able to do those virtual pitches.
Now, I did see a comment going through your comments on I think it was a picture of a hover report that you had posted on LinkedIn, and a hover rep jumped on and put a comment on there for you, asking you how did the usage of hover change, and your response was pretty awesome. I don't know if you remember that, but I actually read that yesterday. If you don't remember, I'm happy to give you the answer, and then you can elaborate.
I remember the conversation, but I don't remember the answer.
The answer was, I would rather use hover now that I'm outside than in the house, because now I have the 3D model that I can literally point at the house and then refer back to, as opposed to trying to picture when I'm at the kitchen table. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So you've seen that hover has definitely helped you guys tremendously with just the visual aid of it. Like now, like moving forward, if you were in a full touch type of economy, would you not step outside and do the whole thing because it's better?
It most certainly is. Try explaining to Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner when you're the first estimate what rake board is. You're like, yeah, the diagonal thing, and
right.
Again, just transfer of info is difficult. I'll give you a perfect example. I was with a customer 2 or 3 days ago. I did not sell it. It was in person. It was actually one of the photos there where the table was in their front porch.
Yep.
They were in their home, behind their screened-in door, in their foyer, sitting on 2 chairs, right? Screen doors open. I'm on the outside pitching. So I didn't sell it. They reached back out to me. They said they would like to move forward. And they said, hey, we want a little piece of trim involved. And I said, okay, well, can you describe it to me where it is? And I was like, can you send me a photo, right? And I'm already using hover. I have a hover up. And I was like, why am I asking this guy to, between his workday, go outside, shoot a photo of his own house, and describe it to me in detail so I could price it? So I sent him a hover, and I was like, is it this section? And I just I took a screenshot of the hover, and I edited the photo on my iPhone, just highlighted it, and I sent it to him. I said, is this it? He said, yes. So it's fantastic. Being outside, being able to point, describing to people, one of my favorite things is like where ice and water is going to go. You can just draw over it with your finger and show them exactly where it's going to go. Yes, it's not terribly difficult to explain. It goes in the eaves and the valleys and, some select other places. But being outside, if you are selling roofing, you should be looking at the roof that you intend to replace while you're attempting to sell a new roof. It's definitely beneficial.
Beautiful. Thanks, Chad. All right, we can go to the next question. I'm actually looking forward to this one. This is big, because the number one objection that here at Leap we have when we have a new prospect is, you know what, we're shutting down. We're shutting down. We let people go. I don't have reps. Even customers that will call and say, you know what, I need to go from 5 licenses down to 1 license. Which, by the way, for those who are listening, every time you guys send those emails, is just stabbing the heart. But anyways, and we're always talking like how can we help you so that you don't do that? Like, how can we help you do that, right? And I noticed one of your posts, again, that's from 2 weeks ago, that you are training somebody, which means your recruiting efforts haven't gone to zero. You still have training classes. I don't know how often those are, or if that has decreased. However, obviously you have the business. That's why you're still hiring people. You didn't let salespeople go. So how is your new process, or how is the technology that you have implemented to continue your process the way you have? What's the impact on your training and your recruiting processes?
So I'm really excited that you put this question in here, because I've always been very fond of our training. It's always been instructor-led. So Free, if you want to join New Look, okay, great. You and I are going to spend the better part of 2 weeks in an office with a beautiful PowerPoint that I built, and there is handouts and homework and questions, and it's just everything I think I can get you to absorb in a 2-week period in a classroom. And it was successful. I mean, we've had great salespeople, we've had good closing percentages, good numbers, and obviously you can't do that in a COVID world, right? No one wants to, and you probably shouldn't. So what I did is I went through, again, we have a 10-step selling sequence. It was one big PowerPoint. It would teach you the 10-step selling sequence, financing, different closes, how to hand measure, how to use the technology, everything. You finish this class, okay, great, you can go run a lead. What I did is I took that giant document and I split it up into little modules, right? So 10-step selling sequence split up, operational components split up. I made voice recordings of me doing each of those sections. So in Leap, in the resources section, you can access, if you're with New Look, you can access a recording of me pitching the thing. You can view the document that teaches you how to do it. And so what we would do, like the gentleman in that photo, who I am happy to say has got about 20 leads under his belt so far this month, and he is closing right about at 50%. Zero industry experience before coming on board. I mean, his first day, I'm pointing out things on roofing. He's like, "Hey, man, can you slow down a little bit?" So I give him a company supplied iPad. He goes home, and I just created a little one-pager for his training, and it said, "Okay, do this and record this, or listen to this recording on this day, and the next day, that's what you're going to do on the appointment." And then we would just systematically go through every single step until the point where he has done it 12 times before you've released him. And that has been the biggest difference. Training somebody for 2 weeks and pushing them out the nest, you will get some success, and you'll get other people that are just a little overwhelmed. When you do it this kind of incremental fashion, we're finding much more success.
That's awesome. From a recurrent standpoint, Chad, one of the things that I thought of was, man, so many good sales reps are now available because they were working for a company that today is not equipped to keep them around because they don't have the ways. They you know what I mean? So you have so much talent left out there. And this is already a competitive market where the good reps are already employed, right? That's always a theme, which is why you may have to go and look at other industries to be able to capture those people. Have you noticed the talent that is coming through, like your resumes and things like that? Has that changed? Have you seen an increment of people with experience that are reps that came from other companies because they didn't have the tools?
Yep. So we are, seeing less applicants, right? I'm doing less interviews than pre-COVID, but I think the quality has gone up. We will, I would say, the next 2 weeks, have a good portion of our staff that have come from competitors. And so they're looking to work for an organization that is keeping them and their customers safe. They're looking for an organization that can be effective. If you want somebody to drive out to somebody's house and spend 3 hours with them to try to sell them a roof, that's not an easy gig, right? That's why a lot of people don't do it. So you've got to give them the best possible tools to do it. And if you can show them that you have those tools or that you're working towards those tools, I think they're ready to move, right? So the gentleman on the screen there came from the car industry, and the car industry is still moving along, right? People are still buying automobiles, but he's like, I don't have the tools to be successful like I did before. There's not as many people coming through the door. We have the leads, we have the brand, we have the opportunity. So I think the quality is going up.
Beautiful. Thanks, Chad. All right, Kelly, next question. I know I'm running, I have a few minutes here. So, all right. How are your reps able to add more appointments to their daily schedule? This is a pretty obvious one, I will say, but I think, the way that you position things, your customers almost request the type of experience they're looking for. But have you noticed that because now they can stay home and probably do the majority of their demos that you've been able to squeeze more appointments on a monthly basis?
Yeah, because folks are working at home, they're available a little bit more. So we have been a little more structured in the time slots that we offer. Instead of somebody calling in and being like, "Hey, can you do 2:30 on a Tuesday?" We're offering a structured time slot, and that way we know between drive time and how long it takes to do the sales pitch, we've optimized their schedule. And what's going on out there and everybody being home, it allows for that optimization. And then the virtual estimate. Imagine not having to drive to the lead. Like it is
Beautiful.
tremendous. I set my own personal record on a virtual call. I sold a $75,000 deal, never stepped foot on the property. People couldn't be happier. Windows, siding, roofing, doors, gutters, full makeover. That was in the morning. I finished that appointment. I walk downstairs. I eat lunch with my family. I go back to my computer. I sold for $20,000. It was not only my biggest single sale, but my biggest day in total. And I did it without getting into my automobile.
That's amazing. Now, let's talk about a little bit of what some people may be experiencing. Did you get any pushback on that? It's like, just to give you an example, some of his reps, because they have been doing it for 20 years on a face-to-face basis, like they're not a phone person, they're not a computer person. So have you had any of those reps that bought into it and became more successful that way than on a face-to-face in the home?
Yeah, I would say that all of our reps were not phone people. They were not, we didn't do that. We don't sell over the phone. We don't sell via email. We would always be in person. And, even for me, I consider myself to be tech savvy. And it was weird at the beginning. You're on Zoom and you're like, "Hey, so do you want to move forward?" And, some people are like, "No." And they hang up. You're like, "Oh, wow. That was particularly easy." But just, again, it's almost, there is almost less competition for those customers because the people can't find an organization that is able or willing to deliver the experience that they require. And so what I've found, our closing percentage over virtuals is almost identical to in-person, almost identical. And again, the folks that we have, some people, I'm reaching out to, some of my newer reps, like, "Hey, do you have a computer at home? Do you have an office?" And some people are like, "No, I use my phone for everything." And so, getting them set up with that, it is a little bit of, a lift. But again, you borrow a computer from somebody that's not coming into the office, you provide it to a sales rep that can turn that sitting machine that's collecting dust in your office into a revenue machine. I think people are really excited to be gainfully employed. I think people are really excited to still be professionally challenged. I think people are really excited to be able to provide that level of opportunity to their customers. And those are the people that are going to rise to the top. It doesn't matter if it's technology or COVID or what the barrier is. It's just another objection, and they're willing to overcome it. But no, some of the people on our team are not particularly tech savvy.
Oh yeah, trust me, I deal with that.
but we make it work. We're very hands-on remotely with that training. So I have a couple of mock Zoom pitches that I recorded. They're 3 hours long, and the sales reps they've got to watch those videos before they get on a virtual estimate themselves. And so
Awesome.
They have a ride along right before they do it.
That's amazing. All right, final question here, and I know I'm stepping on a little bit on Kyneth and Alex's time there, but I think this one is huge here. What other impacts has remote selling had on your business? Aside from just the sales aspect of that, have you noticed any other lift?
Yeah, I would say, again, culturally, kind of going back to the point that I made in the last question, people being gainfully employed right now. I think pre-COVID, there was a decent portion of people that take their job for granted. And, now it's not so easy, right? So, again, being that organization where they have a beacon of hope, right? They feel comfortable doing what they're doing. They feel great about it. So when you go remote, I think most people, especially people that are a little bit more old school, they think, well, we're going to lose our culture. People are going to be watching cartoons instead of working. And it is just, I think the people that work at New Look are special. I genuinely do, but we're not some sort of special breed of people that just happen to all work at a home improvement company. So everybody's just really stepping up to the plate. They're happy to be able to do it.
That's amazing. That's awesome, Chad. Hey, look, listen, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you have an appointment to run in a few minutes. Your content has been outstanding. Thanks for being a thought leader. Thanks for leading your team the way you have. Truly inspired from a lot of things that you have put out, and seeing you out there in the trenches. You're not just the guy with the suit that is like telling people what to do. You're in there with them, man, and that's huge, especially the way things are now. And just so you know, we're gonna get some questions. I know you have to go. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. If not, I'll be sending them to you, and then if you can get back to us with a little bit of answering, that'd be great. That way we can forward that to our customers. Other than that, thanks a lot for taking the time today. Before I let you go, though, I know Kelly just jumped on. Kelly, do we have any questions? Maybe we can squeeze in, or do you want to go ahead and move to kind of Alex? You're muted.
Thank you for that. Sorry. Yeah, in the interest of time, I think we'll hold questions till the end. But thank you so much, Chad, for coming on today. That was fantastic. Lots of great info, and great to hear that you guys are doing so well. So that's fantastic. And thanks, Bree, for walking us through that. Much appreciated. So we'll just have a really, really abbreviated intermission here, and then we'll jump right over to our next session. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about LEAP and a little bit more about what Chad and Fareed have been talking about here, we'd love to set up some time and show you a little bit how that document engine works, and give you some one-on-one time with the LEAP expert. So as a special webinar promo, anyone who's on this session today is eligible to get a free Amazon Echo Dot at their demo. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check off that box, and we'll get that set up. So I'll leave that up for just a couple seconds there, and then we'll jump right into our next session.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Have a good day, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out of that poll there, and we'll jump right into our next session. So our second half is steps contractors have taken to adjust to the low-touch technology. And for this, I'd like to welcome Alex Schreiner, our customer support manager, and Kainat Arif, our customer relationship manager here at LEAP. They've helped lots of our customers, all different shapes and sizes, to set up their sales process. And when COVID-19 hit, they also helped train and update a lot of our customers and contractors to help them pivot and come up to speed with the current environment. So with that, I'd like to welcome Alex and Kainat. It's great to have you guys with us today.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Awesome.
All right, so first we're so excited to have everyone on this webinar, and we're so excited to talk to you guys about how some of our customers have really progressed during this COVID-19. So first, we're gonna go ahead and talk about how to get started quickly with LEAP. Of course, the implementation process is long, but we wanted to go over some of the ways how you could go ahead and get started right away. So first important piece is progress over perfection. You don't have to get the system 100% up, ready to use it.
Right. So you can start with LEAP with the presentations and resources, really. You don't have to have the whole application running, 100% to use it. So, sometimes when you get started, just like with your business, you don't have to have all the pricing done and the contracts done. You might want to start with the presentations and resources, and then you can also use the custom product section within LEAP to move forward. So instead of having using all your measure sheet items, you can have the presentations ready. If that makes sense. So you want to use phases, right? So you can have a sales phase, production phase. Generally, just input your common products to sell at first. Does that make sense, kind of?
Yes. So really with Leap, when you purchase the product, you have an application and there are components built in where you can really start using it the same week. Custom product is an amazing feature which allows you to do quotes right away without having your inventory already built in the application. That allows you to do calculations manually. And along with that, we have the amazing resources, which allows you to upload quickly all your presentation materials, which you can present literally the same week. And then one important piece, of course, moving in phases. So this is really important. We have customers that we onboard every single day. And sometimes we have some really, really exciting customers that want to get everything all in the system really fast to start using it right away, which is, of course, amazing. However, when you try to get everything done at once, it could be a lot. So we definitely recommend that you start breaking it down and doing it in phases where you might want to focus on one important piece such as pricing, and then move on to contracts, and then move on to your settings. And then our onboarding team really helps you combine all those together to really have such an amazing completed implementation and account that you can use out in the field. And then we have, of course, some customers that take it one step ahead outside of the sales process. You can then layer in another piece of production and start to build out your production office. So it's really important to break it down in phases. And again, there are some components of that application that you can really start to use the same week that you purchase it. So it doesn't have to be a really, really long implementation process. There's so many components in the app. You don't have to have it 100% done to use the application.
Right. Well, it's just like too, if you want to enter your most common products that you sell, initially. Because you don't need to enter all these obscure products that you maybe sell once a year, or other miscellaneous forms in the document editor. You can use the Leap application up front pretty much right away. I mean, but when you're using the resources and the pricing of it, you don't have to have everything in your Leap account to use it. Is the point?
Yes, and another important piece is to designate a Leap champion to the account. I mean, for Leap champion, it's really important to have a person, especially throughout the onboarding process, that can really take the lead and take charge of the implementation and take charge in internally training your reps, and also someone who could really manage the account after it has been complete. This is a person that we work with every day during the onboarding, or for support, someone that could really manage and take charge and ownership of the account.
Right, and it is a process to go from being 100% on paper to digital, and through your sales process, and you need someone to support that, right? So you really should have a point of contact internally, maybe designate one that can do that for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so with Leap, you're really digitizing your entire business. It's not going to be a one-day project. So it is a lot of moving parts because you are transforming and digitizing your entire business. There are a lot of moving parts. So having one person that can really know the ins and outs of the application, know your system with your products, your business, combining the Leap application, that person can really help you, take the leap in your business really further.
Exactly. And then, the last thing here is like, be creative. You can put anything in Leap that you can think of. We talk about in these webinars and demos, about estimates, proposals, contracts. But if you have other documents or resources that you can put into the application, like, why not do it? So we've had a lot of customers that input their questionnaires, surveys, measure forms, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the production documents. So you can actually put your whole production process into Leap if you're creative.
Yeah, definitely. And, Alex and I personally have onboarded over 100 companies just alone. So really, we've seen every business do things differently, and we have some customers that have taken it one step ahead. So things that we couldn't even think were possible with Leap, we figured it out together to make it work. So, in the beginning, we didn't think production could work with Leap, but yet we had some of our amazing customers that really wanted to make it happen. And together, we figured out a way to make it work. So if you think you can put it in Leap, the chances are you probably can. It's really important to bring it up during the onboarding or during your chat with the customer support rep, so we can really help you figure out the best way to utilize the Leap application for your business.
Exactly. There are a lot of workarounds and things you can do in the application that you might not think you can do. But if you reach out to the onboarding team, if you're in onboarding, or if you're even in support, we have those resources available to you guys. Next slide, Kelly.
Awesome. So along with, of course, there's many tools that we have that work with Leap and that work inside of Leap. So we have amazing resources section that we've talked about and you guys have heard over and over and over again. So first thing I want to touch upon is Zoom, which Chad talked about briefly, and how they used Zoom in their business. So since COVID, we have seen customers that have started to integrate Zoom with Leap. They took their sales process virtual. So instead of doing everything in the house where we had, instead customers transformed to Zoom. So now they're able to do presentations, they're able to do their sales page, they're able to do everything through the Zoom application and do it virtually when they can't go to a customer's house.
Right, and you can the great thing about Zoom is that it doesn't require like a major download. You can for the homeowner. So as a Leap customer, if you're engaging with a homeowner, it literally takes them just a minute or two to engage with that tool, and now you can present all of your brochures, your company story, like a pitch book, with them. And another thing is we recently partnered with Engage, which will allow you to really create some cool presentations. And they have all these kind of interactive slides you can do, and embed videos, stuff like that, interact with different elements of the screen, play various types of multimedia, like animation, stuff like that.
Yeah, so we have a lot of our customers that are currently using Engage for virtual presentations, for videos, for PowerPoints, customers that do before and after pictures. Again, those are all the things that can go into the resources. And of course, if you have anything outside those, we definitely help you get that in the system along with EPUB files. So all of those things you can do during the presentation, and you can share virtually through Zoom. So you don't have to be in front of the customer to present and to do your sales pitch.
Exactly, and so Leap actually integrates, with PDFs, EPUB files, like Conrad said, videos. You can upload into a video. You can put all of those into the resource center of Leap and use that remotely through Zoom to create a perfect pitch.
Yep. Next slide.
Mm-hmm. So remote measurement tools. So another thing we do that really great through Leap is integrate with EagleView and Hover, and we can actually take the measurements remotely. So if you're doing like a roofing or siding job, so EagleView does the roofing measurements, Hover will do siding or roofing measurements. And actually what we've had some customers do is, some of the homeowners actually, is take their own pictures of their house and submit them through Hover, so we can get those measurements. And then you can access all these roofing and siding measurements through Leap, and then generate like a 3D model and start designing through it too. And what we've found is you can do a really great job of creating a design of the siding, and you can actually pick the colors and everything like that, and it's very exciting for the homeowner. And one other thing is you can include photos from the Eagle View and Hover measurements or the reports through into your proposals and contracts, and it all connects back to the CRM.
Yeah, so with the amazing integration with Hover and Eagle View, if for those who are new to this, I mean, really with Leap, you can pull the Hover and Eagle report, and it will populate all your measurements in the Leap platform, and from there you can calculate a price. And this is an accurate price coming right from the same measurements from Eagle View and Hover. The price can then go over to your documents, your contracts, which you can send to the customer. Along with those documents, you can then attach those same photos of the house, the 3D models from Hover and Eagle View, which again, then get uploaded to your CRM if you're integrated with those. So really, it just transforms this entire process and just combines it together to make it seamless for you. And this is something, again, you can just do it virtually over Zoom as well if you are not able to sit in front of the customer. So it's good to just pull up the, order those reports ahead, just like how Chad mentioned earlier, some of the things that they were doing. Pull those, order those ahead, then all your measurements will populate, get a quick price, and it is an accurate price. Then you could do your presentation, get all that information transferred over to a contract, and you could then send the contract to the customer to get it signed.
Yeah, really great integration there. Next one. So some of the new features in Leap, some of the key features. We've been doing a lot as far as customers submitting requests and us submitting new features for this. So one of the big ones is the Sketchpad. So we completely revamped that in the last update a couple weeks ago. And it adds a whole bunch of new stuff. So before, you would only be able to draw free form. So you could draw with your finger on the iPad or a stylus. But now you can add a grid pattern. And as you see on the right here with the Sketchpad, with the image of the sketch, we can add a grid pattern and insert photos and mark them up, as well as text. So you can see there are some number measurements on there as well.
Yeah, and this was a highly, highly requested feature from some of our first customers that we worked with 2 years ago. It is a highly requested feature. So it completely changed our Sketchpad, and it is really, really, it's used every day with our bath companies, really, to get the most accurate, the drawing, the measurements, and then getting all of that stuff in your documents so you can order correctly and you don't have any mistakes with your ordering.
Right. And for those bath companies, like especially BCI and other bath companies like that, Rebath, so they would have images that they put on paper for like a shower base or a bathtub, and write the width and the height of it, and then the height of the walls that they needed to cover. And we had no way to do that before, but now we do. So now what you can do is actually insert that image, and even you can even put that image in on as a template, and now sketch over it and put that on your contract or proposal.
Yep, and another key feature, this is probably the first time you guys are hearing about this, is our brand new customer health check. This is an amazing, amazing feature that we have designed for our customers. Really, what we've done is taken a lot of the knowledge that we learned over the past couple of years and seeing some of the most successful accounts that we have seen. We have designed the customer health check, which really gives you a bird's eye view of your account to let you know how your account is looking, and if it is missing any important piece of information that will prevent you from using it successfully out in the field. This is used a lot in the onboarding process to make sure that you are getting your account set up in a timely manner. also not missing out any key components. Like I mentioned, you are digitizing your entire business. So it is a lot of moving parts, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of all of those. So with the customer health check, it will really just look through your account and scan some of the important things that you might be missing, or also provide some info for things that we suggest that you should set up in your Leap account.
Right. So it basically Kainet and I and the development team, we've worked with again the development team to come up with this. We have 60 different metrics to check on the health of the account. Whether the appointments are set up, pricing coming over to the contract, are your CRM settings correct? And we give you a score between 0 and 100. And you can see that sort of in the middle sketch here. If you need more information about it, you can see that within the Leap dashboard. And the main point is it kind of lets you know if there's any glaring issues, like dangers or warnings within the account, like, hey, you haven't set this up correctly, or even just providing you messages on things you might not know you wanted to set up, like is the pricing or a document not assigned to an office, stuff like that. So it's kind of a neat feature that we just released. And then we have the new package placeholders that allow you to easily set up a good, better, best proposal. And that's pretty neat. So before it was kind of difficult in the document editor to kind of manipulate that content. But if you have a good, better, best, like say in your roofing or siding or even windows, you can easily create a proposal or contract that can show you multiple options without having to do a lot of work on the back end. So you can kind of show all the pricing and what comes with each package without having to do a lot of manual work in the document editor.
Yes, and this is something used in our onboarding. So for those who are not our current customers, this might not make sense, but really in simple terms, this is a feature that we created to really help you set up your good, better, best in the most quickest way possible. So you don't have to do a lot of the legwork on the back end. You can quickly and easily set up some nice proposals, which we'll show you some examples later with some pictures, but it just makes that whole process seamless and a lot easier for you to do the implementation.
Exactly. Yep. So if you're in onboarding, reach out to your onboarding specialist, and if you're in, if you've been launched, just reach out to the support team, and we can help you out with that.
Next, we have our pro services. I'm sure you guys have seen some new things on our website about pro services. This is a new team that we have rolled out within our Department of Customer Success. Pro services team is made up of strategic consultants that really help you and work with you to do the implementation of your account. This is, again, requested by a lot of our customers. We have a lot of companies that don't really have the time to really sit down and do any implementation. They're so busy, they're wearing many hats throughout the day. So we understand there's a lot going on as business owners. So with this team, we really work with you to get your account set up for you to make sure it is in the best possible setup for your business.
Yeah, and it's mainly like if you don't have time, or maybe there's a complex or repetitive issue, that you need to move forward with. We can help you with that, basically. And we do all sorts of projects for that. So it could be, hey, you need a document created that takes 1 or 2 hours, or you need a pricing list, a whole new manufacturer of pricing, and that could take 20 hours. So you just let us know, and we'll take care of it for you.
So here we have some examples of the proposals that we keep talking about. And again, this is just from one company. some of our customers have done amazing, amazing things with some of the proposals, and really you can customize it for your business. So the logos, the colors, the promotions, the plans, all of that can be customized. This is just few examples of some of the proposals that we have done. We have worked with this customer.
Exactly, and here you can see like, well, back one, yep, sorry. So you can see like, typically customers will do like a 1-year price, a 30-day price, and a today price, just to kind of give, the customer incentive to buy. And they'll also do, if you look at the bottom right of this screenshot, they're doing a 5-year, 10-year, 15 finance plan. So just to sort of move on with that, to give them more incentive to buy. That makes sense. You can move on.
Yeah, and just one more thing to point out there, and you could keep it on this slide, Kelly, is a lot of these numbers, they
Did we lose Connor? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Alex. I think we lost Kainat.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because Shashi just left and then we lost her.
I think we can carry on.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. So this is like sort of one of the other things that customers are doing is like a virtual stimulus promotion, or like a COVID-19 promotion. So all of our customers offer discounts, right? They may even, like add to the price to be able to give a discount. And that's what we're doing here. You can see here they're adding, and one of our partners is Destination Motivation, which we use a lot. We've had a lot of recent activity with Destination Motivation, and what it allows you to do is do a condo or cruise acceptance form and give it a discount based on that, and sort of talk through that. Okay. Now here's one of the big things that is sort of complex. What we're talking about is production in Leap. And well, we do have eventually a production portal coming out, but that's going to be a while from now. So what people have done in the past is actually add their production to their price guide, right? So here on the left, you see material, and you have like shingles, EagleView and Hover with the waste. Like, so for instance, you can add 10% waste to the shingles, 12% waste to the shingles, 15% waste, and then it adds shingles with waste. Then you have underlayment, your ice water shield, so on. And then on the right, you have your labor. Now, what this allows you to do is create material orders and work orders within Leap, which is pretty cool. So if you move to the next slide, you'll see how we can create these material lists with the name, color of the items, quantities, measurement types, unit price, and total price. So we can actually submit these directly to the manufacturer, which will then ship the materials to the customer. And then on the right slide here shows that material list just without the prices, so they can look at that internally. That makes sense. And then if you go to the next slide, we have a work order, which shows the labor that was going to be involved in this job. So this customer, this is a roofing job, and they would be walking on that roof. How much it would cost, in the unit price per hour or whatever, or per square, and the total price. And then if they had to upgrade the walk-on because it was a little bit steeper, they have the quantity, measurement type, unit price, and total price. And then the total work order cost. So that would be what would be paid to the labor in that case. So we can move to the next slide. And we have questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Alex. And Kainat, it looks like maybe you're back with us.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries. That happens. Glad you were able to make it back, though. That's awesome. So great. That was some wonderful information from Alex and Kainat. So we've got we're at the top of the hour, but we'll go ahead. We've got just a few questions in there. So just while we go over a couple of questions during the Q&A, I'm going to launch this final poll just one more time. So if there's anybody on the call who is interested in learning more about the LEAP application and getting some one-on-one with time with our specialists, you can go ahead and do that. So why don't we go ahead and launch that poll? And then we'll open it up for some questions. Okay. So the first question we've got that's come in here is, how do I set up time with the pro services team? Is there someone to reach out to about that?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah, so for our professional services team, we can even send out an email about this. It is on our website. You can email proservices@leap2digital.com. And there we will have one of our strategic consultants schedule a call with you to go over all of the items that you are interested in getting set up with Leap. And they can, from there, provide you a code and get started.
Perfect. Okay, the next question is, can you describe what the onboarding process with Leap looks like?
Sure. So our onboarding process with Leap is a really well-designed program that we have evolved over time. So we have a really nice curriculum laid out. You are working with a designated customer relationship throughout the entire implementation process. So we start off with the kickoff call to really make sure we're on the same page and set some goals and plan out for exactly what you're looking to implement with Leap. From there, we will schedule out training calls and you work together with CRC, like I mentioned before. And you do those calls, and of course, there's some work in between as well. And we also do as much as we can on our end with some implementation. And we take you through a series of trainings. There's some homework, there's some work in between, and then we get you to the end, which is the implementation process. But even then, we don't stop there. We have our amazing support team, which helps you with any ongoing support after you are using it in the field and after you have a completed account with Leap.
Fantastic. So I've got a question from Mary here. Can I set up production during my onboarding as well?
That's a great question. So we have had some customers that have tried to set up production in the onboarding. I would say you have to be, like a well-versed, a Leap expert in order to get that set up. It is a lot more moving parts, and it is a little bit more advanced. So you definitely can set it up if you are at that level of in the onboarding process. But we definitely recommend that you connect with our pro services team so they can help you using the expertise from other production accounts that they have set up.
I do wanted to add to that though, Kelly, before you go, go to the next one. From a capability standpoint and time management, 100%, you can definitely find the way to set your production side of Leap while you're doing the sales side of thing. However, from a best practice standpoint, I will recommend that'll be your phase 2. And there's a couple things that you have to make sure that you do and accomplish before you even move into that type of build out. The first one is your sales tool, your front end has to be set up, well trained, and adopted by your sales team. If that doesn't happen, then you spending time setting up your production side of things in Leap is pretty much irrelevant and counterproductive, because you're going to spend the time, the hours, etc., and your team is not even using it on the front end. So the first thing that we have to do is focus on the phase phase one. The real reason why we're doing this is the sales team, the sales process, get that all finalized, onboarded. I would much rather you spend that time putting in your data for your other verticals and products that you offer, any other custom forms that you may need to facilitate digital compliance within your document set, etc. Then spend the time in production. The majority of companies that have successfully done that, and we have a few, actually Chad from New Look has a production view that their measuring techs and production team uses. They used Leap for what it's for, what it sells, what originally was intended to be, for at least a year before they started looking into the phase two production side of things, to make sure that the sales aspect is nice, tight, adopted, figured out, mastered, and then you move into your production side of things. Because that can, even though it's the same product, that can be a whole different set of challenges and a whole different investment from a human resources standpoint to make sure that it's set up properly. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add to that.
Thank you so much, Fareed. And one just last thing there is everything in Leap is a building block on top of each other. So really, once you have your sales side set up, production is just that much more easier to set up versus when you're doing it the other way around. So really, back to doing it in phases is the best way you can really kill two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Fantastic. That's some great insights onto that. Appreciate that, Fareed, Kainat, and Alex. So I do want to be cognizant that we're running a little bit over time today. So if we didn't get to your question live in this moment, we'll follow up with you after the webinar. So I do want to just say thank you again to everyone for your time today. If you think of any additional questions after we close out today, feel free to reach out to us directly at marketing@leapfordigital.com. That's the address on your screen there. That does come directly to me, so I'll be keeping an eye out for any follow-up questions or things that you might have. And then as we leave the webinar today, you'll see a short survey pop up. So we'd love to get your feedback on today's presentation and hear about if you have any topics or things that you might be interested in learning about for future webinars. We're always interested to know what is interesting to you. So we'd appreciate it if you could take a moment and answer that as you log off today. So any closing words for Kainat, Alex, before I close out?
No,
I just want to oh, sorry about that. Piggybacking what you just said, guys, like what from a sales manager here, more than anything, I mean, that's just a title. We do a lot of consultative conversation. So like a lot of the things that you guys are going through and the questions and things like that, feel free to reach out to us to purely have a conversation on best practices. I don't even have to show you Leap if you're not ready for that. But if you want to have a conversation, a quick Q&A on the house and the best practices so you feel more comfortable then exploring the option to look at Leap from a more of a buying setting, then that's totally fine. That's if anything, that's the way that we want to conduct business, because we want to make sure first that this is a fit. We want to learn about your business. We want to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and we've done it multiple times. So we want to be able to provide that type of feedback to you and alternatives. If then you find that that's a good partnership and you want to go ahead and work with us on this, then we can get down to, the platform and the demo and negotiation or whatever else needs to happen for us to move forward. But feel free to reach out just to ask questions. We're more than happy to have those conversations with you.
Yep, and if you need support, just reach out to support@leap2digital.com, and we got you. Or you can call our phone number 844-370-5327 and option 3 for support.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everyone for your time again today, and enjoy your afternoon.